Hello everyone, Jeff with the Green Review here. Today we're talking about formal hedge pruning. Plants with small leaves and short internodes make the best hedges, but some trees with large leaves are pruned into hedge shapes. Pruning of large-leafed plants with long internodes is best done by hand, selecting the pruning location of each stem. A shears will cut too many leaves in half. The remaining part of the leaf will turn brown, die, and then the internode stems will just become dead sticks. Formal hedges can be sheared with hand shears that look like large scissors, or with gas or electric powered shears. Hand shearing allows more control, but can be much more work on long hedges. Proper hedge pruning begins with the purchase. Choose plants that have more than one trunk. When it is planted, use a heavy pruning to cut it down to less than 1 foot tall. That'll help force it to grow more stems from the roots. Later, during the first dormant season, cut it in half, and during the next dormant season, cut it in half again. This is all done to promote a large number of low starting points for the branches that will form the framework for the hedge. Too often you'll see hedges started with light pruning. They have long empty areas at the base because there are few branches down low. After this initial framework is set up, begin shaping the hedge. The shape should be determined long before the hedge reaches its final size. The sides of a properly maintained hedge will slope slightly outward. The base must be wider than the top so that the lowest leaves can receive enough sunlight. The top of the hedge may be flat, but in areas with lots of snow or tree leaves that fall in the fall, a flat top can be crushed under the weight. A slightly rounded top can help prevent that problem. Each year, formal hedges should be pruned back to their finished size after the initial spring burst of growth, then pruned again as frequently as necessary to keep the hedge looking neat. Shearing plants is the hardest type of pruning to maintain. It's labor intensive, and since the plants are constantly growing new branches that need to be trimmed, it is often the worst looking type of pruning. It is high work and low reward. Instead of removing crossing, rubbing, and out of place branches, it creates them. Shearing is the worst type of pruning for plant health. So, if you're going to prune a formal hedge, what do? First, place a tarp at the base of the plant if there will be a lot of clippings. You may need safety goggles and gloves if the plant has thorns. Second, if you're setting up a new formal hedge, you can use strings and stakes as a guide to getting the shape you want. Once the shape is set, future pruning will be much easier. I don't find strings to be useful because I tend to cut them. If you need strings, set them up for the top of the trimmer and not for the blades. I find that I can hold the handle of the trimmer in one place and swing the blades to cut the hedge at the same height. Next, don't automatically cut back to the previous shape. It might not be right. Use your head and your eyes to figure out the correct shape. If there's a low spot or a low end on one side, don't keep cutting to the wrong height. Leave the branches longer at the low spots so they will eventually grow to the correct height. Now you can cut the hedge back in layers so that you don't make a gaping hole by cutting back all at once. Last, trim back any comb-over branches. These long branches try to cover over a gap, but they're too long, so they fall over. By pruning them back, they'll be stouter and have more side branches that will cover the gap better. If you have a wide or tall hedge, there are extended reach hand pruners and power hedge trimmers to make the work easier. Electric and battery powered trimmers are lighter and quieter than gas trimmers and may have enough power for a normal size yard. Just be careful not to cut the extension cord. Try holding the trimmer out away from your body before you buy one to see if it's balanced and light enough for you to hold for a long time. Manual shears are good for small hedges and to prevent you from making a big cutting mistake that a powered trimmer might make. If a branch is too big for the powered trimmer, it may get ripped apart, leaving many open wounds that can be infected. Use a lopper or hand pruner to clean up these uneven cuts. Formal hedges look nice right after they're trimmed, but they can be a lot of work to keep them looking nice. Before using a hedge trimmer on a shrub, determine what the natural shape should be. The plant may look a lot nicer using the renewal pruning method instead of the hedge trimmer. A lot of landscapes have been ruined by hedge trimmers, making every plant in the landscape into the same shape. Which would you rather have, a beautician shaping your hair to fit your face and your style, or a hair clipper reducing your hair to stubble? And that's what hedge trimmers do on plants. So if you're making a formal hedge, that's great. But if you're just shaping plants in your landscape, it's probably not great. They're probably the wrong type of pruning. A renewal pruning is much better for most shrubs, unless you're trying to make a formal hedge. And this is Jeff with the Green Review. Thanks for watching.